where I grew up, east of Lisdoonvarna was very different to Doolin, so I probably heard of the Russells like when I was a young fella, but it was only when I suppose the music started getting into my head, the limited amount that I could hear, radio, even records and gramophones and all that. Eventually, I suppose with the revival that started like in the 60s, I eventually made my way to Doolin. And so I became familiar with the musicians there that time, the Russells, Galluries, and Willie Begg, and then the younger musicians that started coming in there as well. And of course, it was a new world totally to me. And I was attracted, to the whistle and flute sound from the get-go. That was always the sound that appealed to me. And so I was naturally, drawn to Maiko's playing and Gussie's playing. Gussie was the great session man, Maiko was the great individual talent, very unique style and all that. And eventually, from listening to music for quite a while, because I didn't grow up with music, I started playing. And I was just amazed at how helpful Maiko and Gussie were, Packy I didn't get to know because Packy had his own following, he was over by the fire in the old section of the pub, and then Packy of course died very, very young, so I kept coming to the sessions there. I was picking and choosing when I'd go to O'Connor's because there was the roadside and there was West Clare where I lived at the time. And so I would pick optimum times, like a quiet Sunday night. I loved those quiet Sunday nights and quieter times, and played a bit with them. Yeah, I played a lot with Gussie, but I was lucky enough to play with Maiko as well. And it was just an incredible, tradition of whistle and flute playing, and I was playing a lot then as time went on, a lot in the roadside, but keeping in touch with Maiko and Gussie. And what happened then in my life was that I moved from West Clare and I moved back to live closer to home, where I'm living now. And I used to go to Doolin again in the quiet times. I used to ring Gussie and Maiko and sort of say, I'm coming down to Doolin, will I pick you up? And bring them down to O'Connor's pub. And we had some funny moments, in all of that, so, make a long story short, of course, Maiko died suddenly and tragically. We thought he was going to be alive forever. And, that it was the end of the year, in one sense, because Gussie was getting older. Doolin had changed a lot, at that stage, so I used to come to Doolin that much. Gussie used to come to Murphy's pub down in Bridget's Well the odd time. He travelled down his Honda 50, and he might come into the roadside the odd time as well, so I suppose the Russell era sort of petered out, but thankfully Maiko in particular left a huge legacy of music, of recordings and all that, and that's always going to be there, Yeah.